Is Michigan going to start Bryce Underwood game 1 of the 2025 season? Now, if you have been watching this show, you know I feel pretty strongly about this topic. You know I feel pretty strongly about Bryce Underwood as it pertains to his future at Michigan. But let's unpack this together, because I don't know that we've actually given this the proper attention that maybe it deserves. So if you're locked in, thank you for that. If you are not yet locked in, best way to be locked in is by being subscribed. So Michigan fans, college football sickos alike, make sure you're dialed in here, baby. College football, nothing but college football year-round. Appreciate you being dialed in, all right? So, hand up. This is on me. I didn't even fully realize that this was a question that was all the way worth addressing. And this is kind of how this part of the year can be for us on this side of things. You start to believe what you are, I guess you fall in love with your opinion so much. And I think Bryce Underwood is going to be really freaking good at Michigan for a long time. I think he's going to be really freaking good right away, to where you start to almost lose sight of the fact that, okay, he is going to actually still have to win the job. He still actually is going to put in the proper reps and time and all those things to win the job during spring practice and fall camp and all those things. So with that being said, let's unpack this a little bit. Mikey Keane is a transfer portal quarterback from Fresno State, before that at UCF, that has played a lot of ball. Started over 30 games in FBS college football. So the way that I view this here, Mikey Keane is a great safety break. That's not to disrespect the guy. I think he's a tremendous asset for this team, to where if you just need to keep the car on the road, you need just to cruise and stay at the proper legal limit when it comes to how fast you're going, he's a great option for you. I don't think he's going to crash the vehicle. But that's not the goal for Michigan in 2025. The goal isn't just to stay on the road. The goal is to go 100 in the carpool lane, and to get back to the college football playoff, to go win the Big Ten, all those things. And so when we talk about Bryce Underwood, that's what I think you brought him in to do. And I think the take for a lot of people, this is not my take, but this is just the take, that, oh, well, you're paying him so much, you got to play him, right? A guy's going to make allegedly double-digit $1 million over the course of his time at Michigan. You can't have that guy just collecting dust on the bench if you're paying him that much, right? It's not money well spent. I hear that. I think there's some merit to that. But what I would make sure we remember during that whole discussion is, just because you pay the guy a lot of money doesn't mean he's ready to play. Like, you can pay Bryce Underwood as much money as you want, and just because you throw money at the guy doesn't mean that he's going to be a better quarterback for you when it comes time to go play Oklahoma at Oklahoma. Now, what I think is fair to talk about in the discussion of the alleged amount of money that Bryce Underwood is receiving to go to Michigan, you give, I think, your investment financially to a certain player an equal amount of investment from a coaching standpoint. Like, isn't this kind of how it's always worked? The higher paid employee is going to get probably more attention from the CEOs and the bosses and all those things than maybe a lower paid employee would. Why? Because you're putting a lot more into that individual. Same thing with Bryce Underwood. He doesn't get the job because he's probably making the most money in that quarterback room, I'd have to imagine. He would get the job or get the extra attention of a Sharon Moore and this entire staff, because they understand now, hey, we've put a lot into this guy from a resources perspective. As a coaching staff, we think he can be really good, so we're going to make sure that we do everything in our power to make sure that money is well spent. So what I'm trying to say here is, I think Bryce Underwood will get the benefit of the doubt in a lot of situations. I think he will get every opportunity to start for Michigan. And I think just overall now, you take money out of it, I think he does end up being your guy here game 1. I've said it multiple times. I'll say it again. I think he is too freaky physically. He has too many traits to where you could keep him on the sideline. Even if it's a thing where he doesn't start game 1 and he maybe splits a series here or there and you go into Oklahoma and he's the starter after that game. I don't even think that happens, but I think he is too good to not have even just some kind of role here for Michigan. But again, I think he's your guy from game 1. My guy said on the Rich Eisen show he's 228 now. He's still out here throwing down backflips. What are we talking about? You're really not going to have that guy in the game? And to be fair now, too, for Michigan a year ago, as they were trying to reset some things, they won 3 of their biggest games throwing for less than 100 yards. USC, Ohio State, Alabama, all 3 of those games, they won with less than 100 yards passing. You don't think Bryce Underwood could do more than that in a college football game? If he is even serviceable as a passer, if he's just good enough to get you over 100 yards in a specific game, 150 yards in any given game, what he is as an athlete, that's going to translate. I have no doubts about that. I think he's going to translate as a passer too. The dude's special. There's a reason why he was wire to wire the top quarterback in this past cycle. Okay, so he could throw the football. But if it takes some time for him to figure out the anticipation of what college defenses bring and all those things, that's understandable. But I still think that the physical traits with him, with what you can do running the football or what he can do when the play breaks down, that has got to be a part of the game plan every single week for Michigan. And I think it'll be a part of the game plan for him, again, as your starting quarterback. Now, I mentioned the Rich Eisen interview. If you haven't checked that out, great stuff. Rich Eisen, obviously a Michigan alum, and it was just a fun conversation to hear a guy who hasn't even played college football yet have a discussion with one of the most recognizable personalities in sports media in general. But there was a couple things he said throughout that interview that I think were maybe a touch revealing as to who Bryce Underwood is as a person. And now it's March, so yes, we are maybe taking a lot from a little here, but that's what we do, I guess, at this point in the year. Went out to Los Angeles, did Bryce Underwood, met LeBron, and Bryce Underwood, according to the interview with Rich Eisen, told LeBron it's over for Ohio State. His words, not ours. All right, if you have the confidence to tell, arguably, according to Caden Smith, the greatest basketball player on the face of the planet ever, that you're going to go beat his favorite team, it's over for them, you got a little bit of extra juice to you. And we knew that was kind of how Bryce Underwood was wired, but I like that from my quarterback personally. Now, will it rub everyone the correct way? I'm sure it won't, but like, this dude's a dog. This dude's a dog. He said in the interview too, his goals are to win a couple of Heismans and at least one national championship. Now, would you like those numbers flipped? Maybe you would like a couple of national championships and at least one Heisman. Sure, but I mean, the guy's clearly got some self-belief. And the chip on his shoulder, too, that he mentioned at the end of this interview with Rich Eisen, where Rich asked him essentially, like, hey, what is your motivation? What is that chip on your shoulder? He said people saying that he's just a freshman, he won't be good enough is what fires him up. All those things now, to me, combine to make me excited about the competitor and the way that Bryce Underwood is wired. Like I've said here now a couple of different times throughout this segment. And some people, again, will hear that and say, well, isn't that a little bit presumptuous of a guy that hasn't even touched the field just yet? A guy hasn't even taken a snap yet. And we're talking about winning a couple Heismans and at least one national title. Yeah, it absolutely is. But if you don't feel that way about yourself at the most visible position in all of sports, at the quarterback spot, one of the most visible brands in Michigan with that winged helmet, then how am I supposed to believe in you? How am I supposed to trust my guy on 4th and 1 to go pick up that extra yard and call your own number? I want my quarterback to feel that way about himself. And so will there be some learning experiences for Bryce Underwood throughout the way? Of course. I'm sure it's not going to be a straight line when it comes to his progress and his journey at Michigan. But overall, the physical traits, where Michigan is from a roster standpoint, the fact they brought in an offensive coordinator in Chip Lindsey, which just so happens to, I believe, marry perfectly with Bryce Underwood's skill set. Don't think that was a coincidence. And then everything that we are learning about him as he does these different interviews with folks across the country, the Rich Eisen conversation in itself. I like what I'm seeing. I like the vibes, and obviously we're buying stock on Bryce Underwood, but I do think, for the record now, for the, I don't know how many times it is on the record, we do believe he will be the starter for Michigan Game 1. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section, Michigan fans. Are you believing that Bryce Underwood will be the guy from Game 1? Not eventually, from Game 1. Are you calling your shot like we are that Bryce Underwood is QB1 in Ann Arbor? Appreciate y'all. Love y'all. Cato on the ones and twos. We will keep this party rolling, and we will see y'all next time.